just tomorrow, could you still be mine? And when you're looking for your freedom, nobody seems to care, and you can't find the gold, can't find it anywhere.
So you're saying I can ask the cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
Man, I've been looking at this for weeks.
Okay, good evening to everyone. Tonight, Tuesday, October the 20th, 2015. You guys have to excuse me a little bit. I got all the controls all by myself tonight. Kathy's not here tonight, and I've got guests on remote here and trying to do everything myself, so I'm probably going to make some mistakes tonight. I hope I don't. So anyway, it looks like everything's working right now. We're getting a good report from the chat room. So, guys, can you believe it? Amateur Radio Roundtable has been on the air now for about 9 months, almost 9 months. We've made lots of improvements to both our equipment and the programming. Still an amateur production. You know, it's getting easier, and we now have some regular segments hosted by great people, such as Emmett Hohensie, W0Q8. He's chief engineer of Radio Waves, and he has segments on antenna for us. We got Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. All you guys know Joe. He does a lot of kit stuff on it for us, and he's actually the roving Hamfest reporter. So we're going to see all the Hamfest he goes to. We'll air that on here. And then we've got Riley Hollingsworth, K4ZDH. Riley is the retired special counsel to the FCC enforcement group. And Riley's schedule is a little iffy right now, but he's going to try to make an appearance at least once a month with us, and he's going to be sending in his segment by video or by audio every week or two. So if he's not here, we're still going to do Riley. So we're going to have some Ask Riley questions answered in just a minute or two. Just like to say towards the end of the show, we're going to provide you with a link for the viewers. They have a camera and microphone and a Google Plus account. You can join the show. We take up to 10 people at a time, and you'll be on the show with us, and everybody will see you. Maybe your kids out here if you want to, or put them on if you want to. And well, let's see what else. Part of the show is very informal. We can have up to 10 people that'll sit, and we'll talk about anything and everything. You don't want to talk, just join us and listen. A couple other quick notes. Please join our Facebook group, W5KUB.com. Just search under W5KUB in Facebook, or if you're lazy like me, we've got a link at the top of the page. So you can go to the top of the page, click on it. That'll let you join our webcast group. You can see who the guests are going to be and information about the different shows we have. And you can just post 10 radio stuff over if you want to. And also, we're going to start trying to work Twitter a little bit more and to get some announcements out. If you're not on our mailing list, there's a button to click on up there to join our mailing list. We send out a mailing each week right before the show to remind you and tell you who's going to be on the show. We hope, next week, I think we're going to have Emmett back with us next week. We're going to do segments on antennas, answer all your questions by telephone or chat room. Joe Eisenberg may be back with us next week. I don't know if he's in the chat room or not. I don't think he is. Joe had some surgery recently. He's doing okay. And he'll be ready to do a segment probably in a couple weeks. So let's see, to start the show off tonight, we're going to have our segment with Riley Hollingsworth. and Riley is going to answer some of the questions that you guys send. This is kind of cool because this gives you a chance to ask Riley questions, and Riley's been calling many of you guys back on the telephone, talking to you personally, and letting you give you the answers to your questions. So I've got a little clip here for Riley. Let me see if I can play it. Yeah, I'll have to find it. Okay, I think I found it. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Tom. Hope you had a good weekend. We had two good questions this week that I thought I would bring up. One was from Tim, and the question is, what can be done with locals running amplifiers and modified CB radios causing interference to 10 and 12 meter ham band? Now, the best thing you can do here is go to the fcc.gov website, and up in the right-hand corner, you'll see transition. That's the old website, which works a lot better than the new one for reasons yet to be explained. But anyway, look for the area at the top that says file a complaint, and follow the online complaint filing procedures. It sounds like that I'm just putting you off by saying do that, but all complaints come in that way. You'll get a case number, and they'll be assigned to a specific person for review. It's the best way to do it so far. It's worked very, very well. It's a new system started, I think, in the spring, but it's worked very well. Be as specific as you can, especially about the operating times, because that saves the agent time when they're in the field. It'll be put on the enforcement list, and when the FCC in that area, perhaps on a public safety or a broadcast tower case or something like that, they'll get to it. It's very important to be specific about what you're complaining about, what the frequencies are, and what the operating times are in general. That'll save the field agents a lot of time when they're out there. And this system does work, and you'll be able to track your complaint there with the case number. Second question was from Fred, and the question is why, when someone is found guilty of intentional QRI, is all of their radio and antenna equipment not confiscated? And for a second offense, why is all of the assets seized? Fred goes on to say this may seem severe to some, but as amateur operators were held to a higher standard from the start. If the punishment were possible, a loss of all property and money like they do to drug dealers, I bet there would be less offenders, and the confiscated items would more than pay for the manpower needed to run the operation. Well, at present, it's not the policy to do equipment seizures except in unlicensed operation. There is some movement among the staff to change this. Quite a few staffers would like to see a change this policy so that any equipment can be seized in the event of intentional interference. And I agree with that, and I agree with you. It would be an immediate forfeiture to lose equipment, and it would definitely result in a lot of second thoughts among a small minority of incompetent operators that do this. How equipment that is seized is disposed of is another issue. I don't know whether that money goes to the agency or to the general treasurer. I suspect that any money gained from equipment seizure and sale and later sale would go to the treasurer. Fines and forfeitures, they go to the U.S. Treasury, not into the FCC's budget. But this is a good question, and I'd like to see a policy change in the future. And as I said, there's some discussion of changing that in the future as well. I think it will make enforcement a lot more effective. That's it for this time. Tom, thanks, and I hope you have a good week, and we'll talk to you later. 73.
All right, well, that was Riley, and he gave us a report on some of the questions that came in. Now, if you have questions for Riley, send them to askriley@w5kub.com, ask Riley at w5kub.com, and Riley will probably have you an answer on the show within 2 weeks. When Riley is live on the show with us, we'll open up phone lines with him, so you can call in and talk to him directly if you want to. But as I said, Riley is pretty good about getting people answers. He's actually calling people back on the telephone and talking to them. I see that Kathy is in the chat room. I'll wait to Kathy tonight. She's 500 miles away from me tonight. She's over in the Smoky Mountains over there, and I think she'll be coming back next day or two. So, I'm kind of working all the switches and stuff in here by myself. I really miss Kathy tonight. And just one other shout out, you guys met a neighbor of mine that's a ham, Walter Rook, KJ4UCE. He was with us last week. And after the show, we just kept the broadcast going, and Walter joined me here in front of the camera, and we talked about flying airplanes. He's a pilot. He's a wide-body pilot. He's flying Airbuses, and in fact, he was going to be with us tonight, but he got called. He has to take a plane he's in Cincinnati tonight. He has to take a plane from Cincinnati down to Indianapolis tonight. So hello to Walter if you're listening here. All right, let's jump on over to our featured guest tonight. Dan Romanchik, KB6NU, is from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Dan is author of several ham radio books, including the No Nonsense series of amateur radio license study guides and the CW Geek's Guide to Having Fun with Morse Code. He teaches ham radio classes and is a big proponent of the 1D Tech class. He is also the proprietor of KB6NU.com, one of the more popular and widely read amateur radio blogs. When he's not sitting in front of his computer or writing about ham radio, you find him in shack, probably working CW on 30 or 40 meters. Let me see if I can bring Dan. Dan, how you doing tonight, Dan?
Oh, pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, doing real good. Getting your audio set here. There you go. So, man, you're a busy guy. You're a technical writer. Is that the term?
Right.
Technical writer, so you'll never retire. You're just gonna write all your life, man.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're self-employed. You just keep working.
Yeah. Well, I read some of your blogs, and there's some interesting things in your blog. I'm not sure how much of that we'll talk about tonight, but hopefully some of those subjects will come up. But, you and I got our ham license about the same time. I was mid-60, and you were right at the beginning, 1970. We both got our license when we were 16 years old. Each one of us were 16 years old. And, that was some fun days. That's kind of magic days back then. You lived a magic time back there. Tell me about you getting your ham license at 16. What did you have to do that?
Well, the only reason it took me so long actually to get my license is that there were no hams in my neighborhood. And it was one of those new subdivisions, and I would have seen antennas because the trees weren't even that big yet. And there's just no one in my neighborhood. Finally, an aunt of mine knew somebody whose father was a ham. And, back then, you had to get a licensed ham to give you the test, novice test. And so we finally found the guy, and I finally got my license when I was 16. But I started shortwave radio listening back when I was probably 10 years old. And so I've been in radio for a while already before I was able to actually get my license.
Okay, they're asking on here what your call is. Your call is AB6NU.
Right.
Turn my mic gain up a little bit. I think I'm a little low. Okay, so hey, yeah, and same for me. I started as a shortwave listener back prior to being 16 years old, and we moved to a new street that used to be, they took Cotfield and put a street down through and started building houses, and we didn't have any tall trees. Mm-hmm. And I remember a friend of mine, we went out, we took a tree out and cut down a tree. We couldn't get telephone poles, so we cut down a tree and we set it up behind the garage. I don't know how long it lasted, but it lasted long enough for you to use it before I got out of there. So yeah, same thing. No hams there. Same thing in my case, no hams. So that makes it difficult on people. What can you tell new people today that are in little towns? I don't know if you're in a little town. I was in a very little town, 1,000 people. What can we tell today if they want to get their ham license and there's no hams there? What do they do?
That's really tough. Obviously, nowadays we have access to the internet, right? So you can get access to study materials, such as my study guides or whomever. And there's a lot of other good study courses on the net. And that would be the way to do it. But, finding, and then they'd have to find an Elmer. And finding that Elmer over the net can be kind of touch and go. I sometimes say, well, you might have tried EHAM, but you know how EHAM is. Sometimes guys aren't quite as welcoming as you'd like. So it's hard. It's hard to find how to get in a ham radio if you don't know someone already.
Yeah. Well, at least I was lucky. I had an uncle that I grew up in a tea shop, and of course he was electronics oriented. He was not ham. So, we had figured stuff out on our own. But, hey, the novice license back then was pretty simple to get.
Right.
What wasn't too hard to get, and you could get another ham in another town to give you the test. It was pretty simple back then. So, cool. Now, you've done a lot of work getting hams to get their tech license. I think you teach some general courses. You want to talk a little about some study guides that you have here?
Sure. So how I got into the study guide business is kind of a strange story. I was actually at our field day, our club field day. I was sitting at the public relations booth, and this guy wandered up. His call sign is WADBS. And he had this study guide that he had written. And what he had done was taken every question in the question pool, reworded it as a statement, then reorganized the statements to read like a book. So he group questions on different rules together, and then questions on different antennas together and such. And he came up to me and says, hey, I got this study guide here. I'm trying to figure out a way to get it more publicized. And I said, well, I got this blog. I'll put it in my blog if you like. And so I did. And a couple years later, when the question pool was updated, I tried to find him. And he had just sort of disappeared off the face of the earth. He was still listed in QRZ.com, and I sent him an actual postal mail, snail mail. Never got a reply. And by that time, the study guide had become fairly popular. I said, well, geez, I'd hate to let this just go. And so I updated the study guide and still published it. And that's how I started in study guides.
All right, well, I'm trying to think what study guide I got here. What a whole lot of background back then, Well, all right, I guess we got our license. You had your...
You're right, you had the EWRL study guide, and that really was about it. Gordon West, I don't think it started publishing it.
Right.
He's not that much older than
Yeah, well, so I mean, this is great doing it now. Now, you also have these one-day classes that you teach, but so
right.
People have an option. I mean, you're hitting two ways. You're giving some one-day classes, and I guess you can take your study material, right? On their own.
The technician class study guide is free download at my website. I also sell Kindle and Nook versions and a print version. I think I got the print version right here.
Oh, okay.
So they can still buy it in all kinds of different ways, but the PDF version of the text study guide is free. And I use the study guide in my one-day classes.
Uh-huh.
And the way these one-day classes work is we start at 9 a.m. in the morning and go basically from the front cover to the back cover of this thing. Then we give them the test right away so that they don't forget anything. And we do pretty well. We get about 85 to 90% pass rate.
That's a good percentage you're passing. So
we did this, the last class was 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and we had 14 out of 15 pass.
Well, that's pretty good.
I think we do a pretty good job.
Yeah. So tell me a little. Okay, so your study guides, are they mainly for the tech, or do you write them for the tech too?
I have a study guide for all 3 licenses.
Oh, do you? Okay. Very good.
Here's the general class.
Okay.
And I don't have a printed version of the extra class study guide yet. They're updating the question pool next year, and I do plan to have a print version at that point. But there's currently no print version for the extra class.
Well, hey, that's a nice looking book there. Bound everything. I mean, it looks like a professional did it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give Jeff K1NSS a plug here. He's the one who did my study guide, the course for my study guide.
Okay.
You'd recognize some of his other work. He does a lot of custom QSL cards. And I credit him with taking my books to the next level because these really are nicely designed covers.
They are. It really looks good here.
Yeah. He's great. He's really great. So if you ever need a custom QSL card, tell Jeff I sent you.
All right, we'll sure do that. Hey, let's jump a little into your blog here. I was reading some of your blog. There's some interesting things on there. You just had a recent experience with the scouts here. Was it the JOTA deal, right? It didn't show up, but you were trying to get them down at the club station or something? Or?
Right, down at the club station at WA2HOM, which is at the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum.
Uh-huh.
And, usually we do have a better luck, but this year we didn't get anyone to show up. And the problem this year was that I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's the home of the University of Michigan. Yep. And it's a football Saturday. When there's a football Saturday, the town is just mobbed. And so I'm sure that kept a lot of them away, unfortunately. In years past, I've had really good success. A couple years ago, we had a guy who was an Eagle Scout, actually, very smart kid. He had taken some Spanish in high school, and before I knew it, he already had an amateur radio license. But before I knew it, he had contacted a station in Mexico City, which also was hosting some scouts. And for about 45 minutes to an hour, he carried on a conversation in Spanish with the scouts down in Mexico. So that was a very cool jamboree on the air experience from a couple years ago.
I think we had some trouble last week. We had one of the presidential debates on, and our numbers low. It's terrible how we could schedule around stuff like that. I mean, I can understand how up there the football really takes over everything.
Especially this year. This year we have a new coach, and last weekend was the Michigan game, so there was just a mob scene here in Ann Arbor.
Uh-huh.
There's really, scouts don't talk to the University of Michigan Athletic Department. I don't think the Michigan Athletic Department's going to work on the jamboree on the air.
Probably not. So another item in the blog was about the ARS asking the FCC to clarify that hams may modify non-amateur gear for amateur use. I didn't even know that was an issue. What do you know about that?
Well, yeah, it is kind of. So what the intent of this proposed rule is by the FCC is to prevent people from modifying routers and do wireless networking. And of course, hams use some wireless routers to do high-speed multimedia because some of the channels used for Wi-Fi are actually in the amateur radio band.
Right.
So amateurs, as it stands, can modify a router and run amateur radio communications using the router. Well, this rule would prevent us from doing that, and the ARRL, which I think is totally right, is trying to get the FCC not to pass that rule.
Well, and we've got a lot of those Wi-Fi modified Wi-Fi links here around Memphis, hooking different repeaters together and so forth. They're building the ham WAN, or I think that's what they call it. And, modified routers. Now, I kind of see where it goes back to the routers and things. I don't know, but I always thought, a ham could always build his own equipment or modify equipment to be used on the ham band. Maybe not, you couldn't do it the other way around, but I thought ham could legally modify and build equipment to be used in the ham band.
Well, we currently can, but this new rule would prevent us from doing it for certain classes of equipment, such as wireless routers.
Oh wow, that's a big thing. I think I'm gonna have to start following that. Maybe
Yeah,
have some
I would
updates.
because this could be something. Because it's not just limited to routers either. There's other implications for things like software-defined radio, stuff such as that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But just to take a step back, talking about my blog, I sometimes joke that I have the #1 rated amateur radio blog. And the reason I say that is when you Google amateur radio blog or ham radio blog, I usually come up #1. And the reason for that is several reasons. A, I think the content's pretty good. But B, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this over 10 years, and I have over 2,500 posts. So if you can't find something of interest on my blog, you're either not an amateur radio operator or you're not very interested in amateur radio.
Well, I checked you out, and for sure you're the one that came up #1 there. So, well, let's just jump around ham radio again. You like CW?
Yeah.
You make a lot of 75 tacks. What's your cut speed now?
When I got my general pass license, one of the first things I did was get Heath at HW101, right? And built the HW101 kit. And after I made a few phone contacts, I said to myself, well, okay, so what? And I went back to work in CW. I just prefer operating CW.
Well, yeah, and I remember my first sideband rig was HW100. That was just right before the 101. So it shows how things were very similar between your early days and mine. And I enjoyed CW. I don't call myself a CW person. I can still operate CW, and from time to time I get the urge to do it. But you're getting up there pretty good now, right? Code speed's about 30.
It depends on the day, but I do 30, 35. Depends on the other operator. The other operator has a big bearing on how fast you can run, because if the other operator is a good operator, they're a lot easier to copy.
Well, I have to bring out my Arduino CW keyboard and reader, and I can run anything at about 400, 500 words a minute. We can.
You have to crank that out.
I'll test there one day. Yeah.
One time I talked about computer-generated CW. One time I worked with a guy, and we were in about 2 or 3 transmissions of the QSO, and the guy admitted he was using a computer to decode what I was sending him. Mm-hmm. And he said kind of apologetically, and I said, hey, I don't care what you're running there, as long as you have a nice contact. And he was kind of flattering to me, because what it said to me was my code, what I was sending him was good enough that the machine could decode it. And so, I have no problem with guys running software to decode or even to send. That's up to them. I think they may be missing a little bit of the fun of it, sending code by hand. But hey, to each his own.
Yeah, of course. It's always easier to send than it is receive. So. I tried several different programs to copy CW and build up some of the Arduino decoders. I just can't find anything that really works perfect, and it may be because everybody has different fist, but I'd love to find something that worked pretty good. I would still use probably my keyer and manual send, but
you tried FL, did you?
Let me write that down. FL, did you?
Yeah, it's actually was made to be a digital modes program, right? PSK31 and all. But he also has had a CW feature, which is pretty good. Does pretty well.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I don't know that I've tried or not.
And it's a totally free program.
Oh, really? Okay. I've been looking at some of them that you had to purchase. I mean, I'm willing to purchase something if I can get it to work really well. But I'll try the FLG out.
Yeah, give it a try. I really like the program. And it does do a really good job in digital modes, which I like to work once in a while. So,
have you ever worked anything like amateur TV or satellite or anything like that? You've been interested?
That's sort of the problem with ham radio, right? There's just so much to do. I just never have gotten around to satellites. I did do a little slow scan TV, but I didn't really stick with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I would love to. I want to do something new and different, and I've done a lot over the years I've been a ham, but I'm really getting the bug to try to do some type moon bounce. And I'm not going to have a high power station and a very large arrays for that, but I think that was some of these digital programs. You can actually make contact with moon bounce, especially if the other end is one of those big stations. Right. Got the big antennas and the power. It's possible. So I'm thinking about wanting to try that. So if any of our listeners or viewers out there have done any moon bounce, I'm really interested in hearing from them and what kind of look they're having. So you got your license in '71, but you you probably got like me. You get busy in life, and you didn't operate a lot for a number of years, right?
Right. I was off the air from well, I don't know, probably 20 years or more.
Wow.
You know, when I moved to California, that's where I got my car, right? And you know, we live in apartments and condos there, and you know, not the best situation for antennas. And then even when I moved back to Michigan, I actually went to bicycling on ham radio, so I wasn't on the air for a while. And yeah, about 13, 14, 15 years ago, I just decided to get back in ham radio, and I kind of regret not doing it sooner.
Well, I'm pretty dead hurt ham. I mean, even when I don't operate, I always have to have my station set up, and I always have to have antennas out there. And I have all types of antennas out there I experiment with and hang up and extra ones. So, you know, you can try different antennas for propagation. You know, some antennas are better than others at different times and all that. So I've always had antennas up and radio set up, but just, you know, haven't operated a lot. In fact, even today, I find myself probably doing a lot more building and experimenting than actually making contacts. I need to get back to that. So you're, and I think we talked. You had a little interest maybe in some antennas. I mean, antennas are fun to play with.
Sure, I agree. In fact, one of the interesting antennas I had when I first got started back into it again, was a Slink antenna.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work for a guy named John Titus, KZ1G, who he actually owned the patent. He didn't actually develop the Slinky antenna, but he owned the patent on the Slinky antenna for a while, and he actually sold the Slinky antenna kits. And when he heard I was getting back into ham radio, he sent me a whole kit. And I used the Slinky antenna for a while, and that was kind of amusing. And then I graduated to dipoles and loops. I got a 10-meter loop in the backyard. If only 10 meters was in better condition more often.
Yeah.
I put up a 20-meter ground plane antenna too after the Slinky. That worked pretty well.
Uh-huh.
I just don't have space for a tower here. So we do have a tower beam at the club station, which I use, but I just don't have the space here to do the tower in the backyard.
Well, I have a tower you can have. It's in I took it about 12 years ago when we moved over to Memphis area. A tri-band beam, tower, everything. It's stored at a friend's barn. You know, I never put the thing back up. I mean, I liked it when I had it, but with my Delta loop antennas, my wire antennas, I can make the same contacts I could make with that beam at tower. And let me tell you, I think the tower probably attracts lightning a whole lot more than the wires do. I've been hit several times, had the tower up.
Yeah,
and also, again, in the wintertime, the wind's blowing, I'm hearing those cables on, you know, cling, beat against the tower and all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's going to come down tonight. So, you know, I tell you, I'm very happy with the antennas, wire antennas. And I just let everybody out there know, man, you're going to make as many contacts with a wire antenna as you can. They have a big beam. Of course, it'd be nice to have, you know, a couple kilowatts and, you know, a couple 100-foot towers and beams and arrays and all that. But you don't have to have it. You know,
those Delta loop antennas are good antennas.
Yeah.
Usually when you hear a guy who says he's got a Delta loop, he's got a good signal.
And, you know, the nice thing about the Delta loop is once I trimmed it for 40 meters, it works great on the other bands, the higher bands, without a tuner. I don't tune it. I run coax out to it, put a bottom out there, and it works great. It's really good antenna. And, you know, my antennas are pretty hidden out there. I mean, it's black wire. It's in the trees out there. I can go out in the backyard, and it's difficult for me to even trace the wires out there. You know, so I don't even think my neighbors know ham lives here, you know. I've blackout shapes on the thing here, and you know, my antennas are hidden. So,
as long as you're not interfering with their,
you know, yeah. Back when we started, you know, there wasn't. I don't know about in your area. Cable didn't come around our area a long time after that, or sometime after that. And, you know, it was very easy for us hams to cause interference to TVs. You know, down the block, around. You know, oh man, it was something. And you know,
you didn't even want to think about operating 6 meters.
Yeah.
Because you'd fry channel 2 on.
Yeah. 6 meters is right about channel 1. And I don't know why the FCC didn't have a channel 1 for TV. Probably because it was. I don't know why it started numbering there. You know, I thought it was funny that I went from 2 up to 13 now, but. You know, I mean, once cable came around and then it's a closed system and everybody had a lot stronger TV signal in a closed system, they don't hear the problem about TI that used to have when we grew up. That's not an issue today.
So one of the mailing lists I'm in a couple of months ago, guy said he wanted to get rid of his collection of low-pass filters.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even need them anymore.
No.
Yeah, the radios we have today are so good, the harmonic levels are so low that you just didn't need those low-pass filters anymore.
Yeah. I was looking at the chat room here. We had, let's see, I'll probably let you go. Someone here had a comment taking the FL Digi and using it with a Raspberry Pi. So that might be a little decoder. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the nice thing about FL Digi, it runs on anything. You get a Linux version, you can get a Mac version, you get a PC version. The developer is W1HKJ. He's done a real great job of it.
Well, I'm sure going to look into that maybe before the next show there. What you and I talked a little about things have changed a lot over the years when we got our license. And, I was mentioning how I feel like a lot of new hands are kind of feel sad for them because they didn't have the experiences that we had. I mean, we're back. It was the olden days, and but we had fun back then. I mean, today you pass your test and you ask somebody what kind of radio you need. They tell you, and you go out and you buy, a radio, and you're on the air, and it works. But it wasn't that may be fun, but we had more fun. We had more fun.
You're right in a way. We did have quite a bit of fun. We were operating HF mostly, right? And now you operate mostly HF. And nowadays the technicians operate mostly VHF.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, in the 60s when I got on, 2-meter band was around. I didn't know anybody on 2 meters, probably for 1,000 miles from my location. So it just been popular, and I don't know if there were repeaters. I guess there were probably a few starting to come up back then. But we started out HF.
The big age of repeaters was in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Even in '71 when I got my license, there were a whole lot of repeaters, and they were all using modified Motorola gear.
Yeah.
There wasn't. I mean, you can go get a valve thing in '71.
Yeah, well, and I built my first repeater out of the old Motorola tube radios, and that was, oh man. And then, but
we can help though. Us older guys can help. After I teach these classes, I tell all the students, if you ever need any help or you got a question, to get in contact with me. And I think we need more guys like us to get more involved with young guys. And in my case, it's really paid off. I had all these people that I taught, and now I consider myself their Elmer. And they feel free to ask me questions. They get me involved in things which I may never got involved with before. And just because they're interested in it, they need some help. They ask me for help. I do what I can to help them. And I think that's in a way we've kind of lost that. There's not doesn't seem like there's as many Elmers out there. I think if we we all took the initiative to like Elmer one new guy, I think everybody would be better off. The new guys certainly would be, and the old guys would be too. So it's just something to think about.
Yeah, well, a lot of the some of the new guys getting their license prior to Elmer me. I could take a 11-year-old to be my Elmer when it comes to things like cell phones and Blackberries and I don't know, all those other gizmos,
Well, that's what I mean. It's really a two-way street. And so, like for example, one of the guys who's my currently guy I'm working with a lot, he pushes me because I sort of push him. I push him to get into HF. He's not in HF. Now he's got some questions about, he wanted to put up an antenna. Well, I didn't. What he wanted to do was put up just a double it and use a antenna tuner with it. No, I'd never done it before. So I couldn't necessarily advise him on that. But together we worked on it, and he's got it up and going now. We're also working on some digital modes. I don't know if you know about this new mode called FSQ, but we want to try and get this to work on VHF as well as HF. And so it's that kind of thing, They're interested in stuff, they ask you, it may force you to learn about the stuff, and it's good for both of us.
Yeah, I have not heard of the FSQ. Things nowadays, I mean, it's kind of like I comparing a 57 Chevy with a 2015 Lexus or something. I mean, there's no place to mount the radio. You have no idea where the wiring harness is, where it even goes, how it runs, where the fuses are. It's technology has really moved a lot since we were there. I was reading in the chat room here. One guy says back then he didn't have to worry about FWR. Hey, I don't know that I had an FWR meter my first year or two. I bought one out of a handbook where you had to calibrate the meter one way and go to reverse and all that. But we didn't worry about SWR. You just cut a wire.
The Pi network output circuits would match in.
Yeah, you cut a wire, you put it out there, you kind of tune it up where light bulb glows the most, and hey, the guy hears you, and then you smile, man. Yeah. So there's a museum up here, and you got involved with the museum up there, and you brought ham radio into it. You want to tell us a little about that?
Sure. So I'm a member of the local Rotary Club, and one of the first talks I heard after I joined was the executive director of what's called the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum, which is a science museum for kids here in Ann Arbor. As I'm sitting there listening to the guy, he's describing all the activities that are going on there, and it just struck me, this would be a perfect place for an amateur radio station. And so a friend and I, actually one of my sponsors in Rotary was also a ham radio operator, one of my Elmer E's, in fact. He I got to talk with him, and I got him interested in joining me in this venture. And between the two of us, we approached the executive director and said, "Hey, maybe we could do something here with ham radio." And he was very accepting of the idea, and pretty soon he had an amateur radio station at the Hands-On Museum. We were able to get, what made it even better for us was this friend of mine is a member of the IEEE Institute of Electrical and Electrical Engineers, as am I, and we were able to write a grant proposal on behalf of the museum to the IEEE, and the IEEE gave us $10,000 to put in the station, as well as do a few tabletop displays, and then we were able to get $3,000 from the ARRL for the tower. We have on top of the museum, we have a 30-foot tower, and on top of that, we have a trivander. So we were able to get $13,000 to put this station to the museum, and that was great. Everything worked out great. Great station, great antenna, good equipment, and we have fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the IEEE is a good organization. I give you a chance. I haven't shown anybody this, but if I can hold it up there.
Yeah.
So I'm a member of IEEE. I need to go out and get my money and get me some new rigs here, I guess. But that's good that they can do that, and they're always helping out with things like that. Do you have any people?
Museum's been great for us too. Not only do we have the station there, but they also give me the space to hold my hand classes. So all the over the last 3 or 4 years at least, all of my one-day classes have been held at the museum.
Yeah. How many people do they operate much?
You mean the station?
The station, yeah.
Well, we have a situation with the station. It's not in operation as much as we'd like. And the reason for that is that where it's currently situated, it's very noisy. I mean, a lot of ambient noise. And the problem is that the guys who are in a position of volunteer are older fellows, retired guys, right? And their hearing isn't as good as it used to be. And that ambient noise really makes it hard for them to operate the station. So what we're trying to do at the museum is to figure out a way to make the space more noise-proof. And we think that after we address that, we'll be able to get more people to show up, just because it'll be a lot easier than to operate the station. But we try to have it operational at least a couple of times a week.
Well, that's great. Try to check the chat room out here while we're talking. There have been a number of comments about our conversation, but I haven't been able to follow it too much. N9Y, he said and I remember this trick, he used 2 number 47 pilot bulbs taped to twin lead TV lead to show the power and low SWR. I remember that little trick. I never did it. Let's see. They're talking about a heat kit coming back. I read somewhere. I don't know if it was on your site. Somebody else was talking about heat kit coming back. Maybe
Heath kit just introduced a new kit, but I wrote about this on my blog.
Maybe that's where I saw it. Yeah, it was a little disappointing to me.
Yeah, it was really disappointing to me. They're asking $100 for an AM radio kit.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just don't see it.
What I read, I guess, was probably on your blog. I thought it was $100 or $150 for an AM, I guess, an AM transistor radio kit. And you didn't even solder. I guess all the wires were under screws or something. I mean, oh man, I mean, they're gonna have to get with the act here if they want to put some kits out. I don't think that's gonna sell a lot. I've got a friend on here. I don't know if he's on here tonight. He sent me a video. Larry, BD0EKX, I think, and he just put together a little EM kit they bought off online somewhere. It came in a little case, a little small transistorized kit, but you put all the components on it, the transistors, the diodes, the tuning capacitors, you soldered on the board, put the loop antenna on there, and it was a neat little kit. I think it's like $10 or something, just for an AM radio. So there's going to be some competition if they're going to try to sell those AM radio kits for $100.
$150.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be disappointing. Because I still have a bunch of heat kits. My lab supply, my bench supply, is still an old heat kit triple output supply that I built, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I got, I did a number of heat kits, and even ICO. I guess ICO's gone now. They made, some cool kits, signal generators and signal tracers and things like that. There's not many places like that out here anymore. I guess it's because the Chinese can make this stuff so cheap over there. And,
Isn't that amazing? Huh?
Yeah.
I still have a couple of heat kit code practice oscillators that I use when I go and give Morse code demonstrations. I found one at the Philly Ham Fest 2 years ago, and I had one. I don't know how I got the first one, but I got 2 of them. I still use them.
Yeah, here's W4YM9. His first transmitter was single tube coil wound around a toilet paper roll. This roll built on a cake pan. That was a cool chassis, the cake pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 watts and a BC455 surface receiver. Oh man, we need to have an old timers day here and try to show some stuff. I wish I had a lot of. I don't even have most stuff that my ham gear that I had back then. It's just
I
like,
still got my HW101, but it's,
Yeah.
I don't think it's working. I haven't tried powering it up for ages.
yeah. Those HW101s today, just about, you buy that at a flea market, you're going to pay almost a day the same thing if you paid back 1970 for that radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really held its value, Anyone out there, Kathy's asking, anyone else have any questions for Dan? And let's see. Dan, can you talk about the current solar wave flares? Are you up on solar wave stuff?
That's not one of my areas of expertise. What I do is I listen to Dr. Damon Scove on your competitors, I guess, Ham Nation.
Well,
She has all the good scoop on
I'm
solar.
kind of interested. She's pretty good about, sucking you up about these flares and stuff, but I don't know. Either the radio's gonna work, it's not gonna work, and I don't spend a lot of time on the solar activity or anything like that. There's some people that do. In fact, I need to contact a guy on Facebook that does a lot of the solar weather stuff. We'll have him on one night.
This friend of mine is always telling me about the K index and the A index and all that. I tell him I use the E index.
Yeah.
He says, "What's that?" I said, "Well, if I turn on the radio and if I can hear something with my ears,
yeah.
the index must be pretty good."
Yeah. Now why he still uses a V6 oscillator, a good little transmitter. Man, you can build these transmitters. They're so simple, So I'm getting a little buzzing.
I bet you needed one of those low pass filters.
Yeah. Got to report that I'm getting a little buzzing in my microphone. So chat room, tell me if it continues. I can change mic or who knows what caused it there. Well, Dan, what else you got going here? Anything else you want to talk about tonight? I think we've stirred up some interest, and there's been a lot of comments in the chat room.
Well, one thing I'd just like to suggest again is that is get back to classes. And if you find yourself in a club or in a area that where ham radio doesn't seem to be thriving, really think hard about doing one of these one-day classes and do a series of them, because everybody needs new blood. Clubs need new blood. Even if you don't have a club, amateur radio needs new blood. And doing these one-day classes really helps draw people in and gets them going in ham radio. And I think that's what we need. And one of the criticisms I get is, well, how much can you teach them in one day? And they're totally right about that. I'm not trying to teach them everything about ham radio. I'm just trying to teach them enough to get their license. And then once they get their license, let them do what they want to do with ham radio. And be there to support them in doing what they want to do with ham radio. But it all starts with getting that license first. And the way I put it on my blog is, it's a virtuous circle. So you get a group of guys, people that get them their license, they tell their friends, oh, I'm a ham radio operator now, I have a ham radio license. And that gets some of their friends interested in doing it. But they get licenses. And then those people tell all their friends. And it's just a virtuous circle. The growth proceeds from that. And I see it here in Ann Arbor. And one of my good friends, Bob K0NR, is seeing exactly the same kind of phenomenon in Colorado where he is. And I just wish we could get more clubs around the country to do this. And I'm willing to support these people any way I can. On my blog, there's a post on how to do one-day classes, and you can read that. If you've got any questions, you can call me or email me. But I really think that every club should hold these tech classes at least once a year. And if you're not, you're kind of missing out, because that's where your new members are going to come from, and that's where the growth of ham radio is going to come from. And not only growth, but new ideas. The more people you bring in, the more ideas they have, the more interesting thing they want to do. And I can't stress it enough. If you're not doing one of these one-day classes, you're missing out.
I agree with you there. Hey, see, we had a question for you. See what it was. K8 VSQ is asking if there's a schedule for a station at the Hands-On Museum.
Well, we don't really have a schedule, but if you want to send me an email and you want to work this station, send me an email and we'll try and work something out. I go there frequently on Saturday mornings, so that may be the best time. Sometime on Thursday evenings.
Okay.
In fact, that's another sort of issue we have at the museum, is we can only be there when the museum's open.
Yeah.
And so they normally close by 5 o'clock, except on Thursdays. They stay up until 8 in the evening. But that's sort of a problem. Another problem we have there.
Now, KK4WT, Ben says he's teaching a 7-week tech class. I'm sure it really is going to get into theory and, Ohm's law and math, and just gets probably into a lot of things about ham radio. Like you said, you're working just to kind of help the people, steering them to know enough to pass the test, get a license, and figure out where they want to go with it.
Right. I am a proponent of the one-day class, but the one class isn't for everybody. I think some of the people that fail one-day class, it's because that's not their learning style. I mean, the guy who failed his last test 2 weeks ago, I could sort of tell, even from the start, he was going to have a hard time because that's not how he learned. Mm-hmm. So the regular 7-week class is perfectly fine too. It all depends on the situation, who the students are, and the teacher. You have to, like myself, I sort of got one-day class down, but not every teacher is set up to do those one-day classes.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Doing a 7-week class is okay too.
Yeah, there's a Tony on here. He says he's having problems passing his general. He's tried studying, but other than just studying questions and answers, it's not helping him understand the issues.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing I would say about that is it almost doesn't matter if you know everything about the issues to get your license. Once you get your license, you can then do those things. And if you learn more by doing than by reading, well, that's how good is that? You have the license to be able to do it before you learn it. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So in closing here, how does the person get your study guides here? If some people in here want to try them, and how's the best way?
So just go to kb6nu.com/study-guides. And if you go to just kb6nu.com, there's a link right on the homepage to get the study guides.
Yeah, kb6nu.com, that's your blog page. It's very interesting.
That's a lot, right?
It's very interesting, and I would suggest for any of our viewers out there tonight to check it out. And I know I'm going to start reading it because I'm interested in several things that you've got in your blog tonight. I'm very interested in what's going on with the Wi-Fi stuff, That's going to be an interesting ruling. And, we got Riley Hollingsworth on here, and I'm sure that Riley probably can, if he did know the answer to that, what Riley does, he checks with the Bureau, and he'll get an answer and get back with us. So it might be good that maybe bring a question up with Riley.
Yeah, I think you would have a real good perspective on it.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thanks very much for being with us tonight. Enjoyed talking to you. We covered a lot of interesting subjects, and let's stay in touch. And let's talk offline about possibilities of some of the things you're doing, and maybe we get it back on our webcast here.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, well, I'm going to say 73 to you. Thanks again for joining. And by the way, the show is being recorded, and hopefully by tomorrow it'll be on our YouTube channel, W5QB. So I know, Dan, you didn't get to watch it tonight. You were busy, so you can probably watch the show tomorrow if you're interested in it. So 73, Dan, and thank you again for everything, and we'll be talking to you later.
73, pleasure all my time.
Okay, well, I think that was an interesting conversation. It was Dan Romanchik. I may not pronounce it right. I think it's Romanchik. KB6NU up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So, if you want to check into Dan's blogs or anything, go to kb6nu.com. Or if you're interested in some of the study guides, there's also a link there. I'd like to, let's see, next week, Em's going to be on here with us. We'll be talking antennas next week. Em always has some great antenna segments. We'll be taking your questions about antennas. Maybe we can help some people out there. I think maybe the week after that, week after next, Joe will be back with us. I don't see him in here tonight, but I think Joe is ready to come back. And we'll have a personal appearance with Riley in the next couple weeks on here. Again, please join our Facebook group. There's a link at the top of the page right above the video that says Facebook. You can click on that. Join the Facebook group because that's going to give you a lot of information about our shows, who our guests are going to be, we're going to be going next, interesting links, things like that. We'll have links like to the kits and so forth on there. I know many of you have been asking for a link to Joe kits. And please help us spread the word. We really, really need your help to help us get the information out about the webcast each Tuesday night. I look at the statistics tonight. Even though we had low turnout last week, we had visitors watching us from about 20, I think around 20 countries. mostly throughout. We had people in throughout Europe, Russia, China, and also down around Australia and down there. So we had about 20 different countries that had tuned in last week to watch us. Send your questions in to Ask Riley at w5kb.com. So, this is going to take us to our next part of our webcast tonight is the real informal part. This is where you can join us and get on the webcast with us. If you got a camera and a microphone, you can join us. We can pick up 10 people at a time here. And your video and audio will be on the webcast with us. Come in and say hello. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Or if you want to just come in and say hi or sit there and just listen, that's great. Let's see. Jeff also wants us to put the links in our Twitter feed. Okay, we're kind of new on Twitter. We just Twitter. We just started it recently and learned a little about it. So hopefully that will help us also get the information out about the webcast. The weekly webcast. Let me go to. Let me see. I don't know if Kathy put the link in here or not. The link to get on to join us. Let me try to paste it here. That should be the link you need right there to get you into Hangouts, into our show. So let me see if I can connect here to Hangout and see who's there. I bet you Jeff is in there. He's always in there. So let me close our Skype connection. Sometimes we have a good crew in here. Sometimes we don't have anybody. It just, I guess, depends on the night. And sometimes it's a real free-for-all, actually. Let's see. So here we go. We got a couple people in here. Let's see what we got in here. Go. Okay. All right, we got Jeff in here. I knew he'd be there, and we got Jeff in here. Go. So let's see. Jeffrey, I'll call you Jeffrey, and Jeff, I'll call you Jeff. Jeff in here. And Jeff, if you will turn down your audio on the show, on the webcast, if you'll mute the video picture there on the show, we will get feedback. He's on. The show is about 30 seconds delayed over our Skype here. There's Jeffrey. Hey Jeffrey, how you doing, man? Let me turn your mic up. Are you there? Oh, okay. Jeffrey, unmute your mic. Mic muted? No, I guess it's not. You just don't have a mic tonight. Oh, don't have a mic. See, Jeffrey has this problem. Either his camera doesn't work or his microphone doesn't work. They never work at the same time. Jeff. Let me talk to Jeff. Jeff, I'm sure you're watching me. Jeff, I don't know if you got that or not, Jeff, but you're gonna have to either learn that or you're gonna have to figure out what's wrong with your mic. Okay. Jeff playing with us. He's acting like he's frozen. I can see the movement on his. I can see the movement on his flex radio there. I see that with the weep in. You don't have any audio. No audio. No audio. None. I don't know what you're saying. All right, go to your Hangout up there and go to settings and figure out if you get your mic selected. Maybe you select mic and camera. This is weird. Yeah, he's not muted because I'd be showing him muted here if he was muted. He must be on drugs or something. Look at him. He's sitting there. He's not moving. So he definitely he's just like this. He's not. Everything else is moving, but Jeff's not moving. Settings, microphone. Select your microphone. Yeah, well, this is better. Usually he has no camera, but this is better. This is camera work tonight. I don't know where the other Jeff went. I guess we ran him off, but maybe the other Jeff will join us here. What I was saying to people out there that join us, please turn down on the video, the webcast video. You can mute the audio because if you don't, we'll get feedback over on this other connection. All right, Jeff, I don't know what you're doing. It's like you're not doing nothing there. Looks like you're doing nothing. You just, I don't even see you working on a problem. Look. You had to turn off all settings to get the fusion working last week. Okay. All settings to get the fusion working. I see myself on a monitor here. See how quick it is. It's not too bad. Well, this is going nowhere fast right here. I don't know. So let me turn the record off. We don't